Tara, Matt, Tony, Gio, Garrett, Hadar, Rosa, Tony, Guri, Agnes, and Claire. Welcome to the open Zoom. Nice to see everyone. Tony waving. So, yeah, what to say? So you only exist in the self-referential story that you exist. The separated, someone negating time and space, having a life, being able to figure this out, and nowhere else, I would say. And at the same time, that's just a new story, infused with belief or disbelief. I mean, when it's seen, it's just stories, me, no me, this, not this. Then what is left is just what already was the case. And there's no caring if this is real or not real, it's happening or it's not happening, if it's actual or not. Yeah, what to say? There's not much to say.
Boom, sweetheart, boom.
Wow.
Gio, maybe we can call this the bubble or the umbrella of the shared unknowingness.
Yeah, it seems so.
The shared unknowingness of?
No off, just this. Boom.
Well, I just got off my phone and Tim Kliss told me that sadness was love. So I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't give a rat's if he claims that sadness is love or not. If he thinks sadness is love or not, then okay, well, fine. Have fun with it.
I gave him a laughing emoji, so that's just something to chew over.
I mean, if love is or not is, or if it's sadness or sadness is love, for who is this important? I would say. For whom? What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with the idea or the belief or the claim that sadness is love?
I think it's only used word Sander. When he said sadness is love.
Of course, of course, of course.
You can say sadness is peace as well.
Oh yes. Well, let's say then what can you do with words or thoughts?
This is the tools we have to communicate.
Yeah, so it's just out of practicality, right? It's practical. It's just it's painting a you and a me having a life, having a wife and kids or not, having a shitty life or a beautiful life. There's nothing more to it. It's just a painting on its own. It's innocently sketching a world where you live in as a separated being apart from all other beings. Yes.
And for some sadness is love, sadness can be peace, sadness can be suffering, sadness can be something to escape from. So it's expression, and each character will express it differently the way it's expressed or lived.
Yes, that's the beauty, right? That there seems to be the freedom that, for this to be expressed how it seems to be expressed in infinite amount of ways.
I'll tell you what love is. Love is Rosa eating, that's love.
Sweetheart Tony, I love you.
You mean you love Rosa eating, or that is what love is?
Oh, both.
Okay. And neither.
Neither. Oh, hi, Claire.
Hi, sorry, technical problems, sorry,
Oh, no.
but I'm here now.
We hear you fine.
So, yeah, so how can sadness be... Oh, sorry, Harder, what did you say sadness was? Peace. How can sadness be peace? How does that work?
Easily, because you don't know what it is. It's just an interpretation of what you think, which is just a chemical flow of whatever going through a body. But again, in my case of my story, everything I thought was shit turned out to be absolutely the best thing ever. So who am I to know anything? You can't. It's just a play of poetic words, really. Nothing more, nothing less. It's
Oh, but
beautiful.
that's where the
in the moment.
sadness, that's where the sadness went afterwards, right?
What do you mean? That's where the sadness went.
Well, there was all this shit, and then it became something else, right?
Yeah. So then it just collapses. You don't really know. I think that's where Tim, I had a personal conversation with Tim after his meeting once, and he had a few beers, and he told me about a lot of sadness in his life. So I think there's a basis of sadness. You know, there's that's his thing. Do you know what I mean? That's his story, and I think there's sadness there.
Yeah, he looks sad to me. I mean,
He lives in Maine. I mean, come on, that's a really sad place to live. But I lived
he
there
lives in
once upon a
England,
time.
so I mean, you can't
Yeah,
blame him,
it's
right?
worse.
So,
It's worse than that, though. It's a village in the middle of nowhere. It's really weird, actually, because I turned up. The only
does he live somewhere on the
non-Norwegian.
south coast? Is it? I don't know
No,
where is
no,
he?
no, 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 no. It's out in Cambridgeshire way, and
Oh.
it's like nobody knows of this place. It's like a dot in the middle of nowhere. And I rocked up to this meeting. Never heard of Tim Kliss before. And I heard these people talking in the background with Tim, and I'm like, I know that accent. It's like a Norfolk accent, right? And so I said, where are you from? And he said, Maine. I'm like, oh my God, I lived there for about 3 years. Like, honestly, it's a place in the middle of nowhere that no one has ever heard from. So the
Well,
coincidence.
it sounds like heaven to me. I mean, I could
No,
live in a
it's
cave,
awful.
you know.
It's a god awful place. It really is.
I could live in a cave in the Himalayas, up in the mountains.
Oh, that's heaven compared to Maine.
As long as it had Wi-Fi, it would have to have Wi-Fi.
Well,
But anyway,
I'm,
sadness is just a descriptive word for what we haven't got a clue. You know, it does something that doesn't feel nice, but often is our benefit when you know, mature a little more or you see things differently or whatever. It's just, yeah. So I think it just comes down to it all being love. 'Cause isn't that one of the things he says, if I remember right, that everything comes
Yeah,
down
I
to
think that's
love?
one of his. I think that's
He
one of his
calls
things.
he calls everything love, I think. I think that's right. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
all he's saying.
maybe we
Whatever.
can ask Tim himself, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, there can be all types of ideas behind saying sadness is love or love is sadness or the other way around. I mean, you know, this is just innocently coming up. This is how it plays, right? Having an idea what is meant with words, ideas, concepts, stories innocently arising, and then suddenly there's a certain knowing or an assuming what is meant with those words, and this always happens spontaneously. I mean, as is the liking of the suggesting that sadness is love, or the not caring about if it's love or not. I mean, to who does it care if sadness is love or love is sadness? Does it
No.
does it really matters?
Well, it matters to the one who's sad.
Yeah, and here in this example with
There
Tim,
seems to be mattering. Actually,
Yeah.
even Tim says that because I heard him say there is mattering. Yeah. This is one of the. He said nothing matters, but there is mattering going on. That was something I remember he said in a video. But he's trying to make it impersonal, isn't he? So he's trying to do the non-dual thing, right? Of disassociating from the personal, from the individual. And that also explains why he's saying that sadness is love, because then he's saying, well, it's just a word, therefore it might as well be peace or love, because it's just a word, you know, like sadness. But subjectively, that's not
Tony,
how it's seen, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if it's just a word, what does it matter?
I don't think Tim tried to do anything. I think just like expression what's going on over there. And then
Yeah,
there
no,
is
because when sorry.
so after there is a reflection after that, you know, it gets to someone, it can ring a bell. For somebody else, it's what he's saying, you know, why he's saying that. It can raise many questions, many triggers. And then here it rings a beautiful bell, you know. There is like a notion about what he says, and for me it's like poetry. So I don't think he tries to get somewhere.
No, he's good on the poetry, yeah. But when he says, because the other half of that communication was, I said, well, if you wake up to yourself, that sadness is no more. But then, of course, he follows it up with the very predictable, there is no one who wakes up. See, well, that was very predictable. So look, Sander, we've had this conversation. You see, there is both personal and impersonal, right? We've had this conversation, Sander.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, at least as the idea or the belief that there's a you as a person, yes, of course, you know. So what? I mean, even if the sense or the belief is not there, or the feeling you to be a separated person, then at least so-called others may see you or address you like that, and it's fine, you know. What's the issue? People saying you, and you know, there's a reaction, and calling that a personal reaction or an impersonal reaction or both, you know, it's just what it is. So in a way, yes, there's at least,
yeah, we've been over this before, haven't we? When you just think and act spontaneously, it just happens. You don't own it at the
no,
time. You only own it afterwards. When
afterwards,
there's
yes.
when there's reflective thinking, you then own what you've done, or when you report it to another. But at the time, you're not having this internal conversation, right?
No, in a way, the I or the me is added, you know, because when there's just whatever seems to be happening, there's no additional loop saying I'm walking, I'm walking, I'm talking, I'm talking. There's just what is. And then when there's asked what you have done, there's a, you know, the I is added to the equation, which is just as innocent as whatever, you know, it's just for practical reasons. But when there's just, let's say, I mean, beingness is a strange word in that way, but when there's just beingness, or when there's just activity, so to say, there's just that, you know, there's no sense of separation. The sense of separation is only when there's a story going on saying there's a you who has done something apart from others. Besides that, there's no separation to be found. At least, I mean, that's how it seems. So yeah, I mean, in a way, the I is added, let's say, as an afterthought. But I mean, in a way, it's not completely true either, you know, because that's already just like a statement made out of nothing, I would say, and not even. It's just another so-called idea or belief that it happens that way. I mean, but the funny thing is, these things only seem to matter, you know, if it's real or not real, if there's a me or no me, you know, in these types of meetings or in Facebook groups. Besides, to be honest, I don't give a fuck about if there's a me or no me, if it's real or not real, when
Exactly.
there's cuddling with the dogs or whatever, you know. I couldn't give a rat ass if it's happening or not happening, if it's real or unreal. I mean, these things are funny, you know, now in the talking. But besides that, to be honest, I don't care.
Can I bring something up, Sander?
Oh yeah, of course, Claire, go ahead.
I think this is really interesting, this idea of reality. And I know something you said to me quite a bit, Sander, is that it's all practical. So the conversations we're having, you might sort of think, oh, you know, what's the practicality? What's sort of we're not doing anything. But I think what you're saying there is everything is practical because everything is reality. It's not like there's a non-dual world that's not reality, and then there's the world that is reality. It's like everything is the same.
Yes.
Everything is real. I don't think I've articulated that brilliantly, but it might spark some thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, we can say it.
Yeah, everything is real because it's nothing other than your own. I mean, everything you experience is a projection of yourself, right?
I mean,
So-
can it be more real than this? Tell me, can it be more real than this?
No.
You know, it's. I mean, and of course you can flip the coin and say it's not real, but it doesn't change anything. We can all say each other, no, but it's not real. It's not. But so what? It doesn't change anything.
It's changing and it's not changing.
Well,
It changed because when you have this perception, then suddenly you see it's real because it feels very real. But then you see it's unreal because where is it? You know, it's all memories. It's things happening and become memory. It's come and goes, come and goes. So it's different perception.
but
We just
Yes,
don't
but-
know though, do we? We don't. There's no knowing, and I think the point of trying to know is where people get a bit hung up, and there's a bit of a, you know, an issue. But it's just that we just don't know. Can't know whether it's real or not real, and it doesn't matter. Like it is what it
Yeah.
is.
For whom is this important? If this is
Yeah.
real now or not? For whom is this important?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When
where the
there is
problem-
no
if there's a problem-
separation, right? Yeah.
If there's a problem, that's where it lies with the one that thinks that, you know, like, to whom is this happening? Do you know what I mean? That's where the question comes from, but it's a nonsense question because you can't know anything.
What's the answer to that question, Andrea? To whom
There
is it
there's
happening?
the answer is no answer. Like
You see, well, my
not
answer
even-
would be to me. That would be my answer. See, this is where I would differ.
Yeah,
I would say
And my
to
answer,
me.
and Tony, and my answer would be the question is the answer.
Yeah. That's it, Rosa. She's on it. I was gonna say earlier, Rosa says this every
This
single
sounds like a
time. Rosa
typical
says
Rosa.
blah blah blah. That's what this is. Blah blah blah. And it is. That you can't we could just end it on Rosa's blah blah blah. That's done.
Done.
That's it.
When I
stop.
say me,
The end.
when I say me, though, I'm talking about you know, an
Impersonal me.
impersonal me.
No, I can
Um,
also say that there is the me experience. Like I'm not, but I don't know what it is. I can't say what it is. But yeah, of course, I'm not in Sander's world doing things as Sandery like. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm not with right. Do you know what I mean? Like it's an Andrea experience, if you will. But I don't know what that is, and I don't question what I haven't got a clue. I think it's the funniest thing ever. I giggle about it, I cry about it, I shout about it, I smile about it, but it doesn't matter. Like there's no question anymore because I know it's empty. It was the point. It's like keep banging my head against a brick wall.
I think there's an
answer.
unknowingness. There's an unknowingness of it because you can know that which you are because you can only know what you perceive.
We don't
what
know
you
shit.
what
We
you
haven't
know,
got a clue.
what you know as an object.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's funny when people deny even the fact that there is this me that is fundamental, that is, you know, aliveness, consciousness, awareness. People even want to deny that. But you can't deny it because if you try and deny it, there has to be a witness to what that denying is. So therefore,
Yeah,
someone does exist, or some
We
thing is
don't
obviously
know.
a difficult
We
word.
know. We
But
just-
yes,
we
I mean, you
just don't
can't.
know.
It's beyond words. But there is
Yeah.
this fundamental sentience or awareness that seems to be aware of other things. So that can't be fundamentally denied.
No.
Oh, right. Okay.
There is no awareness aware of other things.
Well, how would you put it then, Gio?
Concept. This is another
yeah, well, what other? I mean, you are separating what is into this and the other, but the other is also this.
So this is logically...
Yes, both are true. No, both statements are true.
On a fundamental level, yes.
But this...
To say that the other is no different to this is true, and the statement that makes a distinction between this and that, or myself and something, that's also true.
Yeah, in a way it is, because your body is different from another body, right? So there is this kind of discrimination.
You know, you can make a distinction between a chair and a table.
In order to live your daily life, you must be able to distinguish between a bus and a dog, right? Otherwise you would be crazy. But fundamentally there is no other. I mean, how can you make contact between this and something that is not this and is called other? There must be a contact, a way to relate.
But you're only saying that because it's a reflective thinking about this that you experience. But at the time, you know, when you cross the road and you see a bus coming towards you, you instinctively avoid it. You don't say to yourself, "Oh, this is
that's already
an apparent
a
other."
thought, Tony, right?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
What
anything that we say here is a reflective thought.
It's already a reflective thought. So, in a way, awareness is nothing more than a loop of knowing. I'm here in a meeting, I exist in time and space, and this gives the idea that there is something which is prior to the loop of I know that I exist, I know that I'm alive, but that's just the same thing claiming itself to see itself. It's just the same mechanism trying to suggest that it's seeing itself as something separate.
That's why I think that the word awareness is a very unhappy word for what we are discussing, because the moment you pronounce the word awareness, it asks for awareness of. And there is no such thing as awareness of, right? Because that would make a subject-object distinction. So it's just a very unhappy word. If you
there is a
consciousness,
subject-object distinction. Yeah, but there is such a distinction. You can say, I am aware of this. I'm aware of the tree. You can say that.
Sander has
very
his
natural.
hand up, so let us allow him to speak.
Well, Agnes was writing a message, so I want to read it for you. She said, "We can't figure it out because there's nothing to figure out." And in a way, I totally agree with that. But at the same time, I mean, does it really matter, if there's something to figure out or not? So there are many things seemingly to be figured out, how to use a certain tool. I mean, in the end, it doesn't really matter if there's something to figure out or not. This is just, here it is just for the fun of it. I have no issue with going into stories or whatever. At the same time, I have no expectation that it will lead to somewhere, to something new, or that it will bring me more or whatever. It's just for the pure joy of talking. You can call it awareness or whatever you want, but
sweetheart, when is the point when you say my ears are bleeding?
Well, I mean,
I've missed it.
I cannot say when that point will come, if it will come, but if it comes spontaneously and innocently, like anything else, I would say. So
I mean, these kinds of thoughts don't arise outside this kind of meeting. These kinds of thoughts simply don't arise here. There is just the spontaneous act of living, whatever that is.
oh yeah, totally.
So it's interesting, though, that people come together in this landing point, to use one of your favorite phrases, and actually discuss it.
I had a thought about.
Yes. Sorry, Claire, go ahead.
As you were speaking, there seems to me to be a difference between seeking and seeking. Like there's sort of seeking from a place of lack or to kind of find answers or to sort of listen to, I'm looking for something. And then there's also seeking in like, I think you're all such interesting people. So I've got a limited individual experience as a woman in England, and you're all coming at it from such vast, you've all got different backgrounds and you see this in such different ways. And for me, that's the seeking. And I think that's why we're coming together to sort of share that collective knowledge and understanding. That's kind of what I see as the point. And now I've just made a point about not being a point.
Yeah, it's just for the sake of sharing. I mean, and then there's a love, but this love to be here tonight or any other time, may just simply vanish and shift into the love for the newest episode of the Vikings or whatever. So, in that sense, it's just free. It plays freely, right? I mean,
And what a great series that was.
yeah, I mean, this is the highest excitement, as Rosa would call it, or else, no meeting here, So somewhere around the line, either there's a you or there's no you, but at least this seems to be attractive or interesting or whatever, it doesn't matter. Does it really matter if you, there may be an idea, well, maybe after tonight I will get something or not. It's all okay. I mean, I don't see any wrongness in it. Even if there's an idea that, well, maybe I will learn something about awareness, although this is not about learning something, this may just simply, this idea may just simply arise. Well, let's get together and, maybe I will solve the puzzle. But here there's there's nothing to solve. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything.
Is it possible for everyone to ever agree on something? This is my first meeting. Has there ever been a sort of meeting where it's just been, yeah, I agree, yeah, I agree, yeah, I agree?
Yeah, it is possible.
Yeah. But I mean, agree. It's the same there, This is not so much about all agreeing, or all disagreeing. At the same time, agreeing may just simply happen, at some point, and then the next moment it's full on disagreeing, and yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, you see, Claire, sorry, Sander, what Sander is always trying to bring up is that whatever happens is this already. It's really interesting, because if there is no separation, there are no events that are not this. It's incredible, it's amazing, because the moment that you realize that nothing can escape what is happening here right now, what are we seeking? I mean, we can seek for a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, but fundamentally, right?
Yeah, even the need to escape is hard to escape.
What?
Well, even the need to escape, if there is a need to escape, it's hard to escape. How can you escape what already is? And it's funny because the moment
how can you escape from yourself? You can't escape from yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and calling this the self or awareness or consciousness or whatever name it's been given, it doesn't really matter, right? I'm pretty fine if people say, well, there's just the self or there's just this, but please show me, where is this? No one can show this. I mean, there isn't even an actual this.
No.
Has anyone find this?
No.
What this do you have in mind, Sander? What this are you?
Well,
looking for?
the idea that there, you know, the suggesting that there's a this to find. Tell me. Can you
Yeah.
show it to me?
Tony Daniels, I bet you found it. Tell us about this.
Stop it.
Well, I'm
Ryan.
not looking for anything. I mean,
No, but the idea that there is a this to be found. Can you find this? It's
no.
just-
Well, if you can find anything, then it is just simply to be as you are. That is simply what you're trying to find
Yeah.
yourself,
Right.
which is already there. But knowing that can be obscured by the false identification of thinking you are the body.
Yeah, in a way we talked about this, Tony. I know that you mean it not in this way, but it's, you know, because it's language, right? So but it sounds like a misnomer to be what you are, you know. It gives at least the idea that there's a you able to be something which is already just what it is. So how can you become more what you are already?
Because it seems like that.
Mm. So it's
Simply
like
that. It
That's how
seems like that.
it's like to realize that there is nothing to be realized.
Well, there seems to be, or there could be, someone who identifies as a seeker, who is trying to find some truth or meaning, and that seeking either comes from wanting to avoid suffering, or it comes from having had some kind of glimpse of something beyond the superficial reality of objects, and therefore there could be a seeking to find more of that, whatever that is. But no one who is seeking knows really what they're seeking, because it's just it's a feeling of lack. I think Claire, used that word, lack. It's a feeling of lack or incompleteness, a dissatisfaction, not feeling fulfilled. I mean, this is the classic definition of dukkha, which Buddha spoke about, of suffering, which is just the moment-to-moment dissatisfaction and feeling of lack and incompleteness and stuff being off and not really feeling whole, or you can use a lot of words to describe it, but that it's that moment-to-moment dissatisfaction with being what you think you are.
Well, that's it.
And
exactly, because
That just seems to come from the belief of separation.
Yes.
So when you believe in separation, then there is suffering of the descriptions that you've given. When it's seen that there's no separation, that all just falls away. It just becomes a nonsense story.
Yeah, separation and non-separation isn't a term that most people would use. I mean, unless they were in the kind of, non-duality space. But most people don't think of it in terms of separation. They think
No, that we're told that, aren't we? It's something we're taught. It's like a learned behavior. I'm miserable because of this, which is actually, when you look at it, a story of separation. I believe that I'm separate from this or that or whatever.
Yeah.
So but it boils down to just a story of separation, or a belief in separation, which, if you think about it, makes complete sense. If what is I'm using really shitty words now, so bear with me, but if what is whole, and there is a part of it that believes it's separate, then it's going to feel some kind of agitation. Do you know what I mean? Because what it's believing is not true. So it's going to be agitated. It's going to be an agitated state. So
that's going to lead to a disturbed mind.
Yeah, but really, all it is
and
just
that is unwanted,
separation.
because no one wants to have a disturbed mind.
Yeah, of course not.
So if you have identified this separation as a problem, then you have to say, well, if that's the problem, then what's the solution? You see, and then I would go back to what Sander said when he used the word being or beingness. So it seems to me that the solution is that, or the problem also is that the mind is what's getting in the way.
Do you know
It's
what?
the mind
Every
that's the
question,
obstacle.
every question is like popping an acid tab. You go down a rabbit hole of a whole big funky load of patterns and adventures and everything else, but really it's just all nonsense. It's just blah, Rosa, back to Rosa's blah, blah, blah. It's just blah, blah, blah. And you can get really into the blah, 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 and you can make it sound all different ways and different this and different that, but it's so complex. It becomes like the more you go into like a trip, like I don't know if you've ever done psychedelics, but you can like get really into a candle flame and you can see all sorts of images happening in the candle flame, but it's not really there. Do you know what I mean? So you can make of it what you will. You can create the
No,
stories.
but what I would say is, as someone who took LSD years and years ago, I would say that's just an enhanced experience
Oh no,
of
I
what
don't
you
mean
might
it. No,
what you might call duality. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, I don't mean it, and I'm using it as an example in that when you take an acid trip, you can literally lose yourself in a flower for like 3 hours. In the same way, you can talk about separation and the mind, and if you feel this, and then you've got to do that. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm using it as an example in terms of like we can get into the nuts and bolts and what makes what and how, and it just gets a real messy trying to untangle it, but really it's just separation. It's just you were told that you were separated, you believe you were separated, so all these other stories start to unfold in the same way. When you take an acid tab and then you stare at a bit of carpet, it all becomes like all these other different shapes and shit. So it's just a story starts to unfold, but really it's just nonsense. There is no separation.
what would you say that you're separate from? What separate from what?
I can't answer any. This is what I'm saying. I can't answer any of these questions.
And I've been waiting for him to make it, so I think I have.
Sanders.
Well, Claire was also raising
Claire,
hand. Give the opportunity to Claire first. I can wait.
No, you go. You were first.
Well, I'm like with what Andrea was saying. Yes, like I said in the beginning, there's just an innocent story going on. I exist. I have a life. I have a wife. I have this. And when there's a belief in that story, there's always something lacking. There's always something which is off.
Yeah, that's it.
But the funny thing is, this belief, there's no you doing that belief either. I mean, it's not that there's any, this story is just innocently spinning. It's like an automatic stream of storytelling.
Equally though, Sander, when it's said, hey, it's just a story, it can make the spinning stop as well. That can happen too.
Yes, and in the end, it doesn't. So when seems to be integrated, it doesn't matter anymore.
No.
So you can perfectly live your life with just as always, without any problem with it. Being a story. It's just not taken serious anymore. It's just how it seems to function, and it's pretty okay. People address you as a separated individual, but there is no belief in that in the story anymore. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
Tony, not?
Yeah. Okay. But this this comes back to what you might perceive in your life as being a problem or dissatisfaction. So the question is, well, what do you do about that?
Well, but it's the same thing. What's the problem when there's no naming of the problem? I mean, where's the problem?
Well, you don't have to name a problem to feel dissatisfied or suffering, right?
The dissatisfaction is the bullshit, though. It's just, yes, it can arise. Yes, that can happen. But it's the belief in the separated I. Who is there that
and all of that comes from the mind, doesn't it? All of that comes from the mind.
Yeah, and what is dissatisfaction? It's just thoughts. It's just bullshit thoughts that are recorded from apparent
Yeah.
time that doesn't exist, that just replays in a head that hasn't yet said, hey, that's bullshit. And then in that seeing that it's bullshit, it shuts up. Just like, you know, like the ghosties in the cupboard when you were a kid, you know, like once you go and have a look, they don't exist. So once you just look at it, it doesn't exist. So it's not, you won't, it's just like the self-referential loop. It's just, it can kind of have like a bug in the system and re-look at itself. And then it realizes, oh, no, this is just nonsense talk in my head. And then where's the dissatisfaction? The dissatisfaction makes no sense anymore. There's nothing to be satisfied or dissatisfied about this. It's as weird as fuck. It's crazy. Like there's nothing, yeah. There's nothing to be satisfied. Who is there to be satisfied? What is there to be satisfied about? You'll never be satisfied. Ever. Ever. So when that drops out, it's neither about dissatisfied or satisfied. Yeah, my dog was whinging and moaning today. It was a bit miserable, but oh well, like it's just shit happens. No big deal. You don't overthink it, you know, because you know that the thoughts are just nonsense. They're just blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but that's what you're doing right now, Andrea. You're overthinking it.
Yeah,
You're doing exactly that, aren't you?
Wait, Tony, I want to go back to you because you said it's the mind. And in a way, I agree because for me, the mind is not more than just a bunch of thoughts or a self-referential loop. So we can agree on that.
That's exactly what mind is. It's just one thought followed by another thought and then another thought. That's all it is.
I would call it the self-referential loop or an automatic story. It's just telling you to have a separate location. You've been born, you have a life, you're going to die. You know, you're the body. It's going to be deadly. You're surrounded by other objects in time and space. This is just, you know, continuous, and when it drops or when it's seen as just simply playing on its own and not taken serious, then what is left?
Yeah, so you could say that the mind is the problem then. It's
Well,
the mind because everything is
like,
projected by the mind, right?
I mean, the funny thing is, you know, does anyone have a problem with the liver? You know, no one. I hear no one here says he has a problem with the liver. So what's the liver is just
but that's just that's a self-reflected conceptual overlay you're putting over the discussing of the problem.
Oh yeah, you can call it whatever you want.
I'm talking about the immediacy of what is experienced, which doesn't have any analytical thinking behind it, but there may be dissatisfaction nevertheless, right?
Oh yes, anything may. Yes, of course. But I mean,
agitation. Call it agitation.
Yeah, agitation's a good word. Yeah.
No one has seen the mind. Have you ever seen the mind?
So beingness is your word. You used it. So beingness is prior to mind.
So this is where the unknown gets here. Because you can say everything is mind, even us talking is mind. It's all thoughts talking. You cannot know what it is, who's the one that talks. So
yes, ThE.
So this is why it becomes like, I like when this is the stories, you know, because they say, okay, you can see your thoughts, you can observe your thoughts, and then there is this stories of this land. Now it's consciousness seeing that, and then consciousness become this landing place. But there's no landing place. You cannot call it. If you call it consciousness, it's another idea. If you call it that, it's another idea. So you will never find what it is. There's no landing place to say who is the one that talks now.
You think consciousness is just an idea?
Of course. You will try to call it I see something, so I'm conscious. So there is consciousness that's watching everything. Who knows what this consciousness is?
Okay, so now look for consciousness without thinking or saying anything.
Well, consciousness is the speaking and the saying everything.
It is this.
Yes, true. That's true also.
Everything that's happening, it is it.
everyone calls it different things, don't they? People call it God, consciousness,
Yeah.
what's happening. You know, I think a lot of the non-dual speakers like get away from it by saying it's just what's happening, but that's the
Yeah,
consciousness. Yes, yes, yes. I get that.
that's why I called Gregory. I was having a chat with him in the group, and I said, look, actually what you are is a dualist because you're looking for an enhanced sense of reality.
That went down
See,
well.
so yeah, well, I love chatting with Gregory. I love that guy. So, you know, I said, look, what you're really doing is you're a practicing dualist because you're looking at what is, which is everything you see, you know, your perception of the world, and you're saying, well, this is what it is. And as I said to you, Sander, that's not really what it is because you're chasing a ghost. You're continually changing a ghost.
Yeah.
As
You
soon as
can't
you
say
say this
what
is
it
what
is.
is, it's gone. It vanishes. It's a
That's what I say.
puff of
Show
smoke.
me what is. It's not possible. There is not
Yeah.
what
So
is.
I would say that what is really what is beingness. That is what is, not
So what
this enhanced
Another
duality
word.
that you're trying to make magical. You know, you say, "Oh, this is just incredible! It's magical." You're getting absorbed in looking at a dewdrop on a leaf, and you're saying, "Oh, this is what is." No, that's not my
No,
idea of what is.
no.
So that's why I called him a dualist. He took
If
it very
you're
well.
gonna make it, if you're gonna, I said this at the Tim Chris meeting actually that I went to, and it was all this like talk of wonderful, and I was like, yeah, but then you've basically got to look at a lump of shit and say that's equally wonderful. You've got to look at, you know, rape and murder and say that that's equally wonderful. So if you're going to start with the, you know, like, you know, looking at calling everything bliss, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, so long as you call the most abhorred things that happen bliss too. If you can look at it, you know, a beautiful flower in the same way as a woman being raped, fine. Like if that's what you can do, that's fine. But
Oh
you
no,
can't,
no, God, I
you
wouldn't
can't, no,
suggest
no,
that
I'm
for
not,
one
I don't mean
second.
you. No, I don't mean you. I'm talking about you get, I was kind of agreeing with what you were saying, and that they sort of look at, like you said, about the dewdrop.
Are you
Dewdrop.
agreeing?
You are?
Huh?
Are you agreeing? Well, I have to make. Are
Yes,
you really agreeing?
yes,
Oh,
we're
this is.
agreeing.
Can you see
Andrea
clarity?
agreeing with me. That wait a minute. I've just got a God. I'm in a state of shock.
Breathe, breathe.
You know, in a way, it's all mental.
So that's why I would say beingness is what is because beingness is unchanging, whereas everything you experience is continually changing, appearing and disappearing. So that's not really what is. That's why I call Gregory a dualist.
Well,
You cannot separate beingness for things that are ever changing.
You
Things
can
that are
you can separate it. You can discriminate between unchanging beingness and what is changing as a phenomenological changes.
We can't
But
say what's changing and unchanging because anything we see is just an interpretation of what is. So we don't know what is changing and not changing. We can only say from a very limited source.
Yeah. Well, as a direct experience, I can say that beingness is unchanging. And what I experience as changing phenomena seems to appear and disappear and is being
that's
modified.
Duality. That's plain duality.
So I'm making it, yes, exactly. You
And
get to non-duality by starting with duality. Now, so I appear to make the distinction between beingness and changing phenomena, but ultimately there's no difference. That it's all this. There's not two.
But the eye that is coming up with this is already flawed. So you can't know. You can't know.
Well, you know what? The eye isn't coming up with anything because the eye is just an object in awareness, like any other object.
You're using the example of what you see as changing and unchanging. What I'm saying is that viewpoint is already flawed. It is already incredibly limited. As a human being, whatever this is, it is already incredibly ignorant in the whole grand scheme of what this ever is. Like, we just don't know. You can't know.
Yeah, it's flawed because, you're right. I mean, it's flawed because there can never be any explanation or description using
Well, we
language
can't
that
see
can
it.
capture,
We cannot see what is. We cannot hear what is. Our senses dull down whatever this is. So we can't say what's changing and unchanging. We don't know. We haven't got a clue.
You see, Andrea, when you relax into beingness, then all these questions just dissolve.
I don't have any questions.
Well, no, I'm not talking about you necessarily, right? So,
Claire,
And
Claire.
where is relaxing into beingness? Where is the beingness? Where you can relax into? Please tell me where it
the
is.
question, but the question is misconceived because you're trying to make a concept about it which consists of a place and a time and a whatever. But that doesn't invalidate what I'm saying simply because you can't find the words to adequately describe it, which is not your fault. I mean, it just can't be done, right?
So the beingness is like you can say it's everything beingness, or you cannot relax into beingness. Beingness is it's already.
Everyone knows what beingness is.
Hello.
You don't have to find it.
Okay, please. Claire, I saw Claire wanted to make a move. So, we have to give her some, she's not used
Come on,
to
I really want to listen to Claire because I've never seen her before in these groups.
say something, and I would like to say something if there's a possibility. If not, it's also okay. But Claire, go ahead.
Oh my goodness. I was thinking it was in reference to you actually, Tony. I was listening to you speak and just a thought popped into my head, but now Sander has brought the loop back, it's popped back in again. It was about reality, and the random thought was that actually a thought's reality.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, everything is reality because you can't divide reality because reality is indivisible. So you might be able to make distinctions, but there is just one indivisible reality appearing as many. Because it's like, it's like Advaita itself, which means not two. They don't say it's one.
What is this?
They say
one again? Now
it's not two, but it's not one either.
Yes. So it's all one. Okay. It's not one.
Okay.
Thoughts aren't the enemy. The mind is not the enemy. Not at all. Thinking is a wonderful thing.
I wouldn't say it's one.
I think duality is a wonderful thing.
Well, I was wanting to ask you something, and of course this is a bit crazy to ask, but during this intensive talking, is there any sense of you doing the talking? As an actual felt sensation that you are the one speaking?
No, not at all.
No, it's only in the after, in the reflecting back, so to say. But when there's, there's not even an experience of the talk. There's not an experience of this when there's just simply full on what is, right? I mean, the experience arises only in the story that something happened. But has anyone?
Yeah, and then it's all gone.
Has anyone, is the feeling that he's doing the talking?
Yeah, I mean, all that really matters. All that really matters at the end of the day is that you're happy. That's all that actually matters.
It's the same with is anyone feeling that he's in this meeting now? As an actual feeling that you are here, because for that to happen, you have to know how it is to feel to not be here.
Oh, that's lovely, that Yorkshire tea.
Right? How does it feel to be here if you never know how it feels to not be here? It's just, there's just a thought suggesting you are here in a meeting, nothing more. This can create a sensation bodily, and there's nothing more to it.
Tony Daniels, how does it feel to be here in the meeting with us, sweetheart?
It always feels good. It doesn't matter what I'm doing.
I would I wanted to add to this here, like in a way, everything is bullshit.
Yeah.
No matter how we flip the
That's
coin.
classic Rosa.
High five, right?
Yeah, and that's why for me it's just a joke in a way,
Yeah.
and it's funny and it's entertainment, and I love it. I love their entertainment factor. Like I totally go with Tony Guri when he always when he is speaking is saying like this is a celebration, simply a celebration. Yeah.
Mm.
Is it?
Well, it's waiting for that.
I mean, for you know, to be honest, for me, it's not a celebration. I cannot say what it is. It's not not celebration either. This
Yeah,
is
because look, you know what you're doing, Rosa. What
this
you're
is the
doing
fun.
here.
What
Tell
is
me,
it?
sweetheart. Tell me what I'm doing.
It's not a celebration, nor is it not a celebration.
What you're doing, Rosa, is that there has to be something to celebrate, right? So what you're doing is you're looking at something. It's like, look, when you were walking around Hanover, you know, there's that video you did where you were walking near the station and you were going, wow, look, it's the first snow of winter. And yes, I watch your videos. So, and then you said, oh, this is just what is. And then you said something really funny. You said, look, there's snow on top of the trash can or the trash bin. That's just what is. And so, you know, so what you're doing is you're celebrating something that you perceive.
Yeah, sweetheart.
And,
but the funny
and you're
thing
trying
is,
to derive some, and no, wait a minute, and you're trying to derive some kind of joy from that experience of seeing the snow on top of the trash bin or whatever it was, right? So, but what I'm talking about, or what I would talk about, is the joy of beingness, which permeates. Good word. I love that word. The joy of being itself permeates the experience. So it's looking at it from a different way. It's looking at it from not saying the experience itself is a joy and it's magic and it's wonderful and it's a big fireworks show, because that sounds like hard work to me, because, you know, to keep up that mental construct of looking for this magic in everything that you see is it also, first of all, involves
Tony. I totally get you,
on.
sweetheart. I would say.
Oh yeah, right.
It's the only way you can see this video and feel it, and exactly what you said. I mean, yeah, I totally get you, sweetheart. In a way, this is the celebration. Now, listening to you, how you are summarizing the video. What a joy! What to say? Beauty.
Tony, is that not a projection?
Yeah.
What is?
Well, I mean, saying
exactly what is the projection?
Well, of course, that's already just a projection.
My telling of the story.
Yeah, in a way, you know, because you said what you are doing, but I have no fucking clue what Rosa's doing.
Rosa has no clue.
That's true, actually. I always, I'm always thinking about that with
so
Rosa.
I see a video, and I mean, so, but it doesn't matter, you know. So I have no clue what.
Okay, but this is when people say, oh, it's words; they don't have any meaning. But words do seem to have a meaning sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, I would not say that. I would not say that. You know, it's because if you say words have no meaning, you know, you can say this, but you know, it's then the word saying it has no meaning is already meaningless itself. So what I mean, all these
but you can't do anything with that.
You know,
what do you do with that? What do you do with that? How is that practical?
They're meaningful. You know, if there is meaning in words, there's meaning. It's the same. You know, what is the problem? If words can be very meaningful and at the same time meaningless. You know. Both and neither. So I never think about if words are meaningful or meaningless. You know, when they're speaking, there's just speaking, but there's no additional story going on. Oh, but these words are so meaningless now, or so meaningful now, or whatever. It's just
no, of course, no, because that's just happening cognitively as you're speaking and understanding or explaining in the moment. It's only what you describe when you reflect on it. We have to make a distinction between reflective thinking about what happened and what's happening in the moment, right?
What's happening
so
now?
No one has this conversation, right? If you're driving a car, right, you're not thinking consciously, I've got to turn the steering wheel a bit more. You're not thinking all that stuff, right? It's just happening. Huh?
No, so what is happening now?
In one way, nothing is happening. In one way, nothing is ever happening. But in another way, stuff seems to be happening.
Oh, the happening is saying that nothing is happening. Besides that, yes, nothing is happening, and not even nothing is happening.
That's what non-separation is, Andrea. Yeah. Nothing is actually happening.
Well, I mean,
nothing is happening, but stuff is happening.
Is still
without a conflict, without a difference, without a separation.
I would say nothing is happening.
Spontaneous action.
I don't know.
Nothing is happening is still something happening, which is nothing. I would say nothing, not even nothing is happening. Nothing is just an objectification, how you say it? Objectification of something which is nothing. It's just, so what is happening?
What is that? What the hell's going on? Why am I here?
For entertainment, Tony.
More than the story.
And it is very entertaining, I have to say.
Tony, I've got a question. I caught you saying a moment ago, and you all got into a tangle about nothing and something, and I don't know what that bit was all about because I got lost. But who's got the elephant? Rosa. Sorry. You said it was like really tiny in between people's words, and you said so long as you're happy or something like that. And then when Rosa was talking about the joy of seeing things, and it sounded like you were trying to express that it's the other way around for you, in that there's already joy, and therefore, can you carry that bit on for me?
Yeah, I'm saying that the joy isn't dependent on objects.
Brilliant. So your idea is that the beingness should be joyful. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm not saying it should be, because that's imposing some kind of condition on it, isn't it?
Is already.
Yeah. Okay, by its very nature.
So you have a belief that whatever this is.
No, it's not a belief. No, it's not a belief.
Yeah, they're shitty words like skin. Don't hold me to my words. I'm just
trying. Okay, understand. Yeah, understand.
Yeah. So you have a bit, because obviously I don't. There's no you and all that stuff. Yes, get it. But so you believe that there's like the natural state of whatever is joyful.
Yes. Yeah, and I would never say, by the way, and I would never ever say, by the way, there is no you. That's something I would never say.
Okay, cool. I'm just trying
I don't belong to the radical non-duality club. Okay, let's just get that straight.
No, I don't either.
Well, no one belongs to any club.
Okay, so I'm saying that the very nature of the very nature of water is that it's wet, right? You could, just to use an analogy. So the very nature of being is
joyful.
No, I'm saying that beingness, which is not dependent on what is happening externally or appearing to be externally.
I get that.
Is not dependent on what is happening. So that means that the joy of being is as it is, whether there is something happening or not happening.
But it's still a baseline of joy. Is that what you're saying?
In the same way that the movie screen is not dependent on the movie.
Right. But what you're saying is whatever this is, its baseline, just again, shitty words, but its baseline is joy. Is that what you... Is that how you see it?
Yes, that's the nature of being established in being. Yes, yes.
Why? How is that the case?
Oh,
Because
why? I can't tell you. You'll have to ask God.
Why would you? Ah, now I see
Well,
the
I don't know. That
structures
was
of
just
your
a that was
story.
just that was just a throwaway remark. I mean, just because but what I
But
really meant was
why
there's
do
no
you choose?
why. I mean,
Okay, no,
yeah,
this is really interesting. So why do you
yeah, yeah.
choose? Why do you choose the word joy? Because if we look at like the nature of all things, if we look at the world, like ants attacking worms, it's more like the what do we say? What is natural? And take that we'd then call it suffering because it's
Well,
agitation, isn't it? So why
yeah,
do
but
you
that
come? Why do
natural
you?
that natural beingness isn't suffering because it isn't.
But you can't know that, like, because when you look at everything, there's more agitation in whatever this is than there is a natural joy. So you don't see the lion skipping along, la 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 la.
No,
I'm
no,
going
you're
to.
talking about things. You're talking about things.
Uh,
I'm not talking about
that's.
things. I'm not talking about wars,
I
famine,
but
suffering
But
on
that,
a
yeah, but that,
relative level.
yeah, but then we're,
Andrea,
yeah.
does
Sorry.
anyone have an issue here with lions eating
No,
eating?
I'm
no,
not. I'm.
no.
I'm also not talking about indifference towards others because you feel joy and you ignore suffering. I'm not talking about that either.
I don't know how we can come to the idea that beingness, its baseline is joy.
Yeah,
I would, if I was
because it's
asked
not
that
an
question,
idea.
no,
So,
no, I think that's
somehow,
shit.
somehow, Tony, it brings me back to the beginning when you said that ThE said that sadness is love.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's this. You're talking the same thing now. It's just you're talking about this
It's an
piece
idea.
that, yeah, like the piece that behind, like the piece behind everything that happens. So ThE said
Well,
the
this is what I don't
sadness.
understand because I've heard Tim, you see, talk about the peace that passes understanding, and then he
We're
talks
saying
about
this.
That's the
We're
sadness
same
saying
as
as
this.
what you
being
were saying. It's
peace.
the same as calling it
Well,
joy.
I don't know if it is. I'd have to have a chat with him to find
Yes,
out.
you can
To be
call
honest,
it
I don't.
you can call it the Venus, you can call it the joy, you can call it the peace. It's behind any object that's happening.
Oh, okay,
The same
okay. There is an
happening.
attitude. There is an attitude that's been expressed within this, you know, radical non-dual community that because everything is just what is, then that means that suffering and
Ah, but that's
uh,
just a new
is,
thing, you know.
is also is
So
peace,
if you
but
find it's
but it
not a
isn't.
cloud,
But it isn't.
it's not
But it isn't
light.
because there
It's
can be an end to suffering. That's what people have been writing about for 3,000 years. I mean, they haven't been writing about this for 3,000 years just to say, well, there's still going to be suffering, but you're just going to be indifferent to it, or you're going to accept it and just say it's peace. No, they haven't been writing about that for 3,000 years for that
But
reason.
at the
They've
same
been
time,
writing about it because it can end. That's why.
yes,
No,
but
suffering never ends. You can't end. There's nothing wrong with suffering. For it to
Beautiful,
Well,
end,
Andrea. I'm with you,
but this is where
sweetheart.
I'd have to
I'm with you,
disagree with you. You
sweetheart.
see,
Suffering will never
you,
end because it never
you
started.
no, but
I
also
accept that that's your experience,
you
but it
No,
have
can
to have
no,
end.
this is
Yes.
not my
have,
experience, sweetheart. This is just bullshit.
Oh,
That
okay.
suffering is going to end. This is total crap.
well,
yeah.
But
sooner
that's
or
the whole
later,
point.
I would
That's
say,
the whole point of the spiritual path, whatever you want to call because it leads or can lead to the end of suffering.
This is
That's the entire whole
sweetheart, for me,
point.
the religion, the spiritual
path is
The
bullshit.
the seekers who are kind of spiritually seeking, like inwardly, this is in a way a religion for me. This is total neediness, looking for help.
Oh yeah, but no, don't bring religion into it. Look, my suffering ended 12 years ago, and I have not suffered for 1 second
Congratulations,
in those 12
sweetheart.
years.
I'm
Never.
so happy for you. I'm so happy.
You're just not aware of the suffering that is
Well, I
going
don't
on
mean to
within
make it
you.
sound like some
That's
kind of
all.
competition or something, but that is the goal. That is the goal. The end of suffering. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
It's just a story. That's
If
nice
that
that you
is,
believe in the story, but it's just a
guys,
story.
if that is the goal, then that's
Okay, that's fine.
Wait.
I mean,
if that is, if Tony is saying that is what is the goal, then that is just simply what is the goal. So what?
Sander doesn't suffer either.
Well, no, but it is not about, for me, it's not about suffering or not suffering,
When
but
was the last time you stubbed your toes, Tony?
yeah, but
That's pain.
we talked about this, Andre, in the last meeting. There's a difference. Here there's a distinction between suffering and pain. Pain is something physical. Suffering is mostly when it's around the me. Me. I stubbed my toe and it's done to me. That's something. Suffering is more like a mental thing. It's happened to me. I did something wrong in my life.
I
That's
don't
why.
agree. I think that's just the way you just
Hey,
interpret.
Andrea, how is
I
it
had
possible to suffer
appendicitis.
if there's no
Trust me, I was
separation?
suffering
Well,
hard.
yeah, but listen. There can be appendicitis. Yes, that's a physical
Yeah,
thing. But
yeah,
making a whole story out of appendicitis
yeah.
is that's where the suffering is. When there is
So,
no
Andrea,
suffering, there's just
sorry,
appendicitis. There's pain, yes,
The
but
pain was suffering.
oh, it's my appendicitis. Oh my God,
You
this is
should have
happening to
said
me.
that.
Oh, what have I done wrong in my life?
Oh no,
It
no, no,
must
no.
be my past life.
Oh,
Maybe
okay. Is that what you
life
mean? Right.
life.
Oh, yeah.
This
Again, that's
past
just
but
life,
Andrea, you talk
yeah,
about non-separation,
that's
right? You talk.
suffering.
So, if there is
yeah,
no separation, then who
yeah.
is there to suffer? You see, if there's no separation, then who is there to suffer?
Shit happens. It's just constant happening, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, but if that's
One
Suffering only
man's
comes with
suffering is another
identification
man's
of
kick,
yeah,
isn't it? You know?
but suffering only happens because one is identifying with the body mind. That if there's no identification, if there really isn't any identification, then there can't be suffering.
No,
but
So
I
Tony, now
Today
it's
I
again
suffered.
about identification or not, right? So
well,
if you're really not identified with your bloody story, whatever this means, this is already schizophrenic bullshit. Bullshit again, bullshit. Then now I'm not suffering anymore. Look at me. Yeah.
But you can't
let's say.
you can't make that happen with a simple change of replacing one kind of conditioning with a different kind of conditioning,
But wait,
a different kind of psychological conditioning. Yeah?
Tony.
The suffering that happened in my life was intense, and at the time it was
Yeah, we've had that
absolutely
conversation.
shockingly
Yeah.
crap. But every single time I will come back to is everything that was required. So I don't know what's good for me and what's not good for me. I have got no idea. All I know is something might happen. I might call it shit. And the next day I'm like, oh my God, that's the best thing that ever happened. Like, you don't know. So I don't snub suffering. There's nothing wrong with suffering. Suffering happens.
Well, there's
Good
nothing
stuff
right with
happens.
it
Bad
either, right?
yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
right. There's nothing
There's
right with
nothing
it. There's
right with it
nothing wrong
either.
with it.
But,
You just
but
create a story around it,
yes,
and
Yeah.
it's just
Totally.
nonsense.
when it's
Also like
owned,
the
it's my suffering. It's done to me.
Yeah,
When there's a me in it, it's always ugly. It's
yeah.
always
Yeah,
ugly
exactly.
when there's a me involved. So let's go to identification, because when there's an identification with the physical form as that is who I am, there's bound to be suffering, because as far as it seems, this beautiful body, or however you call it, will stink, and it will become old, and it will look ugly. And when there's an idea that you are that, it's just unavoidable that there will be suffering.
Yeah, can I just say that it's not engagement with the world that causes suffering. It's identification. So you can have non-identification but still be engaged with the world. I mean, traditionally, you see, like they talk about freedom from the bondage of action. That's the release, or that's the liberation, to be free from the bondage of action, not the action itself, but the bondage of action.
Sweetheart Tony, this is a teaching. This is a teaching. This is about,
but it's a lovely story.
it's about the person
Some stories
having a better life.
It doesn't make it right or true. It's just a story of one person.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about self-improvement. No, I'm not talking about self-improvement.
We're talking the whole time, sweetheart.
That's what happens.
The whole time about improvement. The whole time you're just talking about improvement.
You see, this is what happens in therapy, right? In various kinds of therapy.
Exactly.
That you're trying to replace something negative, like in cognitive behavioral therapy, something like that. These techniques are used to try and replace a sort of negative mindset with something that's positive, but that's not at all what I'm talking about.
But it is the fundamental baseline of what you're talking about is becoming joy, is ending suffering, is, you know, that's the sort of baseline of what you're talking about here. So it's
realizing you are joy. It's realizing you are
exactly. It's about realizing something. It's about realizing something. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And this I call teaching. And this I call teaching. If you are there who has to realize something,
there's just something wrong with it.
Hey, but you guys,
it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
What's the issue? Wait. What's the issue?
No issue.
I don't have an issue.
Me neither.
No, but I mean, if that is what it is, if there's claiming that is how it is, then that's just simply how it seems to be. Then great.
Exactly.
Rosa has a resistance.
This is the entertainment.
Okay. So Rosa, it seems to me.
To be honest, I don't care.
Sure. There's a resistance. Rosa has a resistance to something she calls teaching. A resistance. There's a resistance within you there, isn't there? It's kind of like a resistance to authority, isn't it? Is that how it's coming
I don't know,
out?
Tony. You can analyze me now.
It's
fine. It's also very entertaining.
I want to explore you, Rosa.
But does it really matter? Because.
But can I just say, Tony Guri wanted to say something. He had his hand up.
Tony, you haven't spoken yet. I should shut up and you should
give us
speak.
your wisdom, Tony.
Oh, you're muted, sweetheart. I'm mute. I love you.
Hello.
Yellow glasses.
Hello, I love you, all of you. I'm still in the beginning, wondering, is this real? Is this really real? Or is it unreal?
Or it's really unreal.
Or really unreal. You have said already, nobody knows, and no, doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Because at the end, I have to say, I can't help but saying nothing matters.
Yes.
If there were levels, one could say on one level, nothing matters. In other level, there are a lot of levels, there are a lot of things, and each thing seems to matter to some extent. And then blah, 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 and teachings and awareness. But at the first level, the unique level, this doesn't matter. Nothing matters at the end. It's like this. Sorry, but I had to say.
But what do you mean in the end? Because
at the end means right now. Now.
Of conversation.
No, good point, Sander.
Of course, not in the end. Nothing matters. In 2 minutes, when this meeting is over, it doesn't matter. But now there seems to be a lot of mattering, because saying it doesn't matter is just another matter. Saying that it doesn't matter.
I don't see like this. At the end only means now, so to say.
But you see what I mean? If you say nothing matters, it matters.
Yeah, that is a sneaky one, isn't it? Whenever
Well,
you
I
say
understand
something
what you're
absolute,
saying,
another
but you
one
also
pops up.
understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, because if it doesn't matter, then what's the problem? It only, if you say nothing matters, it matters. If I
No,
say it
there's no
doesn't matter,
problem. There's no
that's
problem.
no, but you
That's
cannot
again pure entertainment.
you
Yes.
cannot talk yourself out of it.
No, of course not. When I myself is not myself. It's words without knowing that have to say this. Why? Nobody knows. But this mouth has to say nothing matters. Why? I don't. Nobody knows.
Why
No,
not?
Sander's right.
Why
It
not?
matters to you that nothing
Why?
should matter.
Nobody knows.
That's just another idea, isn't it?
Everything is an idea if you want to.
Yeah, you can't get away from it.
And when you say yes in the end, you know, in the end, of course, in 5 minutes when the meeting is over, where is all the fuss
No,
about?
it's not needed 5 minutes. Now. Right now.
Yeah, but if it matters,
Sander,
if
you
it
mean
doesn't
this
matter, it doesn't
this
matter.
meeting is going to end?
Well, I can say it never started, but you know what's the fun with that? You know, of course we can say, oh, nothing really happens, and you know when your kid is getting hit by a bus, you're probably not going to say, well, it doesn't matter, you've just been drawn over by a bus.
Nobody is going to say this, you know, Sander. If a kid,
Exactly.
nobody is going to say this. Here it is not any child here.
It matters. I would say it matters and it doesn't matter.
Well, yes.
Yes, because every time we use a word, the word brings with it the opposite. It's impossible
right.
to say a word
Yeah.
without
Exactly.
the opposite, right?
Yeah.
So as
So
long as we try,
let's go in
as long as
between
we
then.
try to express anything, we are
Yeah.
expressing what we are expressing, and the opposite comes together.
Exactly.
Any
It's all
absolute
entertainment,
come out.
Rosa, right?
And nothing
Huh?
matters.
It's all entertainment, Rosa.
Yeah. So let's go between the opposites.
Oh, my
Let's
Emerson.
entertain a bit more. Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
what's
what is
in between?
mattering and not mattering?
You know, this
Wait
is
a minute,
what.
this sounds like Emerson, right?
That's a
What's
big
in
question.
Sander,
That's
what's
the
that
big
thing that
question.
Emerson said? What's
Well,
in between something and something?
Yeah, but
What-
this is the same as Ramana saying follow the I thought or
Yeah.
or in deep sleep. You know, it's just trying to point to the end of the story when there's no when there's no referential loop going in deep sleep or in between thoughts. It just try to push you out of the equation, and it will never. I mean, it doesn't matter.
But that's one of the most important things that Ramana said. You see, when you scrutinize the I, which is the root of egoity, then when you scrutinize it, it disappears.
Or
That's
follow the
essentially.
iPod, you know, you can say basically say Emerson can start next week and say instead of between, he will say just follow the thought. What is there? You know, it's the same as saying what is in between a thought. It's just a trick. It's, you know, Ramana was doing this. I don't know how long ago. It's just the same.
Which is no different to a dose of 5-MeO DMT as well. Like it's or a meditation or a Sufi swirling or whatever, you know, like go to a rave. Same.
So let's go in between and then let's go. What is in between you and know you?
I don't
No
know.
language. There's no language.
One said no language, the other said know you. It's, you know, it's just another thought.
Of
Oh no,
course,
there's a better
sweetheart.
question than that, Sander. There's a better question than that. What's in between two thoughts?
A third thought.
No, I said between two thoughts, not three.
Well, yeah, that's right. What's in between two thoughts? A third thought.
What's in
Of
between two
course.
thoughts?
A third thought.
No,
'cause the thought is
no.
gonna
One
come
thought,
up
one
to
thought has
answer.
appeared and disappeared, and then another thought appears and disappears.
But does
What's
it
in
really
between the two?
matter,
But a thought
Tony?
told you that.
Oh, here we are with it doesn't matter.
No, but hey, to be honest, what, you know, what does these things?
You're doing that a lot this evening, Sander. It
Oh, but-
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, this is fun, but you know, any answer is it already? You know, I would say.
But the in-between thing is the same. You, Sander, said a lot of times, not the opposites, both and neither.
Yeah.
It's a trick.
Yeah.
It's the same trick. And well, it works because the mind collapses and then both together, neither, poof.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's a trick, of course, a good trick.
Yeah, but it's
nothing
more and nothing more. Yes, exactly. And nothing else. Nothing more, nothing else than a trick, you know? But
it's just there's no the thoughts can't go there, the language can't go there. It's just a pause. That's all it is. But even that is just
but I think
what
it's
was
nice.
before?
I think it's nice.
Then?
But it's nice if Emerson really, in a way, is popping so many heads, and the people are happy with this, and they feel a relief. What a beauty! What a beauty! It's cool. It's cool if this trick.
He's not doing anything. He's not doing anything different to what therapists or psychoanalysts or whatever. He's not doing anything different to what they've been doing for many years, which is to open someone up in some way and produce some kind of cathartic response. That's what therapists do. That's what
in a way,
Claire, is that what transpersonal therapists do?
I
noticed.
I noticed from it. I was wondering if you were trying to encourage me to open up about that.
No. I just, because I read that in your so is that something you would relate
Claire,
to?
you're a therapist?
Transpersonal. So exactly as Tony says, it's about seeing the individual for who they are beyond the conditioning, and then through that sort of process, they come to incarnate as their, I don't know, words, language, that kind of thing. But there is
so Claire pops heads too.
Yeah, and this is what I wanted to say. I know a lot of people who are in a way helping people. I call it therapy. Yeah, I don't know. I call it therapy. And this is so beautiful. I mean, there are a lot of needy people who loves teachings and therapists, and they love it and they need it, and it's beautiful. It fits.
For who?
Yeah.
Well, there's another whole conversation that I'd really like to get into.
Is anyone really interested? This is just bullshit. No one is really interested if there is someone popping heads or not. Come on. Just be honest.
Oh, of course, I'm interested. It's entertainment.
If people go to Emerson or not.
There's another whole conversation that I'd like to get into. No, we're not going to do that now, but with Claire, about the way that therapists mix non-duality into that. There's a whole sort of possible discussion there.
Yeah,
but
I'll pick up you, Tony, if you'd like. I've got.
Sorry.
I'll send you a message afterwards if you are interested.
Yes, okay. But what I would say is that see, I've always said that if you want to get rid of your ego, you transcend your ego, it's better to start with a strong, stable ego. And people in therapy are often quite unstable, and therefore non-duality itself can cause possible personality disassociation, which actually happens in the Facebook groups anyway. You see this personality disassociation. So if someone is in therapy and they're very unstable and very vulnerable, non-duality isn't necessarily the best thing to introduce them to. But anyway, that's a different discussion.
Every human is unstable. It's all unstable. It's flawed from the belief that you're separate from this.
Exactly.
So it is everybody is just suffering a different level of psychosis, which is either acceptable or non-acceptable as per society and psychologists, psychiatrists. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. If there is a belief in separation, it is corrupt. It's just corrupt. So there's always going to be instability in this blah, blah, blah with everyone. Like whether they look to you as if they've got, I don't know, something wrong with them or whatever or not. There's something wrong. There's always something wrong. If there's a belief in separation, one level or one way or another, it's going to manifest itself in unease, anxiety, obsessions, blah, 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 whatever, I'm a hypnotherapist, so I've worked with people on all levels, and every single one became like a case study where I'm just like, hang on a minute, it's the belief in separation that is causing this, however it manifests. Oh, I'm not good enough at this, or I need to drop that addiction, or whatever it is. The trauma is the separation.
But the funny thing is, Andrea, no one is feeling separate.
No, exactly. Not on that level, but the thoughts
No.
the obsessional thoughts that is happening in their head is this continuous flow of I'm separate from whatever.
Nor is anyone feeling that he's here. For that to happen, you need to feel how it's not to be here.
Not
It's
here, yeah, exactly.
impossible. No one feels that he is here.
Agreed. Fundamentally,
Self-referential loop claiming you to be here. In an afterthought, that's when you're there. Or else, when that's not playing, you're not here, neither not here.
Yeah. Fundamentally, yes. But the thoughts, that's what I meant. When everybody is suffering with some form of a psychosis based upon continual flow of thoughts that tells them that they're separate. Ultimately, no, they're not separate. Ultimately, no, of course not.
You know, it's the same.
Andrea, that's where the joy of being comes in, you see. Look, everybody can relate to this. Actually, everybody can relate to this on an everyday level, because, you know, you have those days, some days when you just feel, for no reason, just feel content. And like, there's things that might trigger you on other days when you're not feeling like that, when your mind is a little bit agitated. They don't tend to have an effect, do they? So if you're already feeling quite content, you won't be affected by those things that might normally trigger you. So everyone can experience that on a normal everyday level, right? So if there is just that inner contentment just happen to be, it doesn't matter whether you think that inner contentment comes from chemicals in the brain or whatever, that doesn't matter. The fact is that if that experience is there, you will find that things go easier because there is already that kind of intrinsic feeling of contentment. But then on another day, when you get out of the wrong side of the bed and it feels like you're walking through jelly and the most simple trivial thing is difficult, then it's not that the things that you're doing become difficult themselves. It's just the state of mind that makes them difficult.
No one is feeling I am. No one. It's just the biggest illusion there is. No one is feeling I am. No one has a feeling I'm not. It's just bullshit. No one feels he is.
Yeah, that's true.
No one feels he is. For that to be, you know, you need to feel how it is to not be.
Again, it's just a flow of thoughts.
It's just a flow of thought telling you, and that may induce a feeling of beingness or not, innocently or whatever you want to call it. Without it, there's no feeling in that direction whatsoever. It's the same if I would say, well, I feel like a woman. How in the hell can I feel like a woman? How should I know how a woman should feel?
Can I ask you something, Sander? In your opinion, what is the nature of the origin of all those traditional teachings? What triggered the origin of the original teachings? The traditional teachings. Sander.
I have no clue.
What triggered the origin of? So that's just in the same way each one has looked within for the same answers. It just so happened that, I don't know.
Let's say, all I can say, there's no separated cause which causes
No, that's true.
There's no separate event which is sparked this, you know, which is, you know, the beginning of teaching or whatever, as a separated event which caused this, because there is no separate event.
Well, somehow they were just given expression over time in various ways and various traditions and various cultures, simply because at a fundamental level you are already that. So So the goal of those teachings is talking about something that you already are.
But why do they started this teaching? What for?
Why not, Gio? Why not?
Well, I would say
that's a good question. I mean,
the idea is, the idea is that when there's a certain stability, when basic survival needs are there, there is exploring. That's just simply how it seems to function. When basic survival is guaranteed, then there is exploring, and out of that maybe we can say teachings arose.
I can tell you, Giovanni, it was because Adam ate the apple in the Garden of Eden, and that led to
in a way, yes, because the apple is knowledge, and as long as there is knowledge, there is knowing, we are in this bubble of knowing.
Right? Gio, I would once again say the answer is the question. The question is the answer, and of course, the other way around.
In the present, timeless present, everything is already done. I mean,
we can give a lot of. I bet if you ask 10 people the same question, they will give you 10 answers. So what? Beautiful answers. They will dive very deep into knowledge and history and tell you this and this. This I mean with bullshit and entertainment.
But it's a little bit based, of course, that there is something which has happened. Your question is already in a way based on the assumption that there is a beginning somewhere down the line, but none of this has an actual foundation.
Yeah.
Please show me where it is.
No
than
foundation.
Just a story claiming that there is a foundation, or the lack of a story claiming there's a foundation, which both are equally foundationless.
Yeah. Nowhere to drop the anchors.
And at the same time,
does it matter?
Everywhere. You can drop them everywhere.
Or everywhere.
Yeah, it's always, it's always this game. So that's the joke. That's the freedom. So this is the entertainment, the thoughts, the ideas, the sharings, and
Has anyone gained something now?
It was lovely to talk to you all.
Yeah,
Claire.
Totally.
Yeah, nice to see you, Claire.
We want to know more about the transpersonal therapy. What was it? No, not.
I'm very passionate about it, actually. So I'd really love to share. I've written an article on non-duality and transpersonal therapy that I'm trying to get integrated into sort of mainstream therapy in the UK. And if anybody is interested in or has any thoughts, I'd love to talk about it more. Don't all rush at once.
Yeah, see, I'm responsible for giving her a plug.
Would you say, Claire, that in transpersonal therapy, there is a certain direction where the therapist tries to bring the patient to that position when there is no me, there is no separation?
You're completely right, because it doesn't make any sense, because there's almost the end goal is the beginning. So you're holding all of that projection, because essentially, yes, the end is to come back to the beginning. So it's exactly the same as duality. You're just sort of listening to their stories about who they think they are and exactly all the problems they think they have. And I just keep saying to them, you don't need therapy, you can do this. We do a lot of like breathing techniques and sort of visualizations, and they connect with that part of themselves that is maybe what you'd call non-duality. And then I say to them, look, this isn't the therapy, this is you. This is you. And they go home and they sort of meditate and they come back and they say, I feel so much better. And that's fantastic. That's my profession. I don't know why it is. And it seems to work, and I don't know exactly how, but it sort of does. So you're right. It's the whole kind of coming full circle.
Yeah.
It's good to hear you say that, because, Sander, I am the meditation king. You know that, right?
Yes.
But I wasn't really suggesting that there
I very
was
much
something
believe in
wrong.
practice.
It was.
There we go.
I was just curious to know if transpersonal therapy, how close it is to the notion that there is no separation. I wasn't trying to criticize the separation between a therapist and someone and the other, the patient, but no.
So what was the question? So is it about there being no separate cell?
Yeah, if that.
Yes, I guess so, because transpersonal means through the person, but that means seeing through the individual separate cell.
Right.
Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
This is
Yeah,
exactly, sweetheart, this is exactly what I had, what I call therapy. You know, this was exactly a thing like what Claire is explaining. I totally resonated with this, Claire. I called it therapy for me.
Yes.
And it was beautiful. And I don't know if it was the same, but kind of. But it was always something for the person. You're addressing a person the whole time. And this is like keeping this. And there was, I saw with the others, like a total addiction to the teacher.
Yeah.
He called himself teacher, not therapist. I saw him as a therapist, but he called himself teacher. And this addiction felt, there was the point when I said, no, sorry, it's full on addiction, full on. And this didn't resonate anymore. I just jumped into the cold water.
Well, thank God you did. Many don't. And that's why I was saying to Tony, I'm very passionate about this, because I think a lot of therapists, particularly in the UK, keep their clients addicted. And essentially to really heal.
It's a great business. It's a great business.
Well, you know what, Claire, I think certainly a lot of people that I've interacted with in the non-duality space, I think could benefit from therapy, because, you know, you get people who get into these non-duality concepts and then they start thinking that there's no self and nothing matters. Tony, you know, it's a kind of nihilism.
Yeah,
and
but
I think that therapy. Can I just ask Claire? Would you say that what you provide in some way provides some kind of grounding? Would you say that? Because if it's transpersonal, you're going through the person, therefore there's some grounding, isn't there? Well, that's the word I would use, but. I
think there's a lot. There can appear to be some sort of disassociation, I guess, you know, with the non-duality, you know, schizophrenia, that sort of. There's a lot of you know, ego development, and I think Rupert Spira talks a bit about this. You know, there needs to be a sort of healthy ego as well, and that's maybe the progressive path. And I guess you'd call that a spiritual bypass. So I do notice in the groups as well, and I probably do it quite irritatingly, you know, sort of say, actually, there is work here to be done. There is sort of, you can't just jump to the end goal without actually really doing the work. And I know that sounds paradoxical, but sorry, I'm waffling.
And
Tony, I understand what you're saying.
Tony, I just wanted to add to what you said, like, I can only see the perfection, of course, and I don't mean it's nice, that if someone is resonating with radical non-duality, and you see it, oh, this guy should better go to therapy and be grounded, first of all, because this gap is too big to jump over. That's it. Cracking up.
Yeah, that's my opinion as a person.
Yeah,
this happens all the time. Believe it or not, this happens every time in your life,
and
every day.
And this plays perfect. This plays freely. There is no choice. There is no one deciding to listen to resonating with a radical guy instead of going to therapy.
True too, but as I always say, there is both doership and non-doership happening simultaneously, without a difference, without a contradiction, without separation. That cannot be explained. It cannot be described with words, but that is what is happening. To take one side and say there is no doership, there is no free will, is not the whole story. The whole story also includes doership, together with the non-doership.
I can't agree with that.
No, I don't agree.
Well, you shouldn't be agreeing with it because it's not an idea.
I would say there's just free will.
Well,
on its own.
If there is no separation, you can say there is just free will or there is no will at all, right?
You can say everything, always.
You cannot say in between. You can say, but it has no meaning. right?
there is no
I would
solid
say,
life. There's no
I would
solid
say,
life.
But it's like,
I would
it's
say
like,
there is.
look, I mentioned this, it's quite disturbing, really, this interview I saw. This Leela was talking to this guy, and he was absolutely paralyzed. He was saying, I don't know what to do. What should I do? Should I sit in this chair for 12 hours a day? He was completely paralyzed by
But that's just a
non-duality
story.
ideas.
That's a specific story.
That's not
Who
that's
cares?
not healthy. You see,
Oh,
he'll be another
it may not.
non-duality follower who will be in recovery.
Oh, I don't mind. I mean, that's a specific story. Now, regarding doing,
All
I
stories
would
are.
say that there are doings, there are choices, but no one is doing it. I am not doing it. Choices happen.
As a separated, solidified you being the doer, yes. There is
no doer, but deeds are done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nevertheless.
In the way you are done, in the way, there's just an innocent storyline playing freely, you having a life, and there's no you to do anything about it. At the same time, trying to do stuff about it and feeling you are approaching or you are regaining in that path is this already. I mean, you or no you, it doesn't matter in the end, I mean, these things are interesting in talks.
I bet, sweetheart, I bet that for Tony it matters. You were saying it doesn't matter at the end, but for Tony it matters. Yes or no?
No.
Well, but wouldn't you say that there is a difference between the sense of being responsible and the doer of everything, and not being responsible and not being the doer?
But the funny
Rosa,
thing,
it doesn't matter to me because I never think that. I just act spontaneously.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
It's just that we're having a discussion because we're having a discussion. You're saying, "Oh, this matters to Tony because we're discussing it, and he seems to think it's interesting and important to talk about." But in normal life, those thoughts don't arise at all.
Sweetheart, excuse me, please. I'm just entertaining myself the whole time, and you seems to be the most resonating object over there on the screen.
Well, it's true. I could talk about this for hours, but
I know, and it's cool just to kick you and you start to talk. I love it. It's very entertaining.
I like your passion, Tony. I think it's fantastic the way you're thinking, kind of very practically. I know not to sort of differentiate you, but I do really resonate with that, and it would be fantastic to chat.
Great. We should have a one-to-one Zoom sometime.
Let's see what happens.
Anyway, that's not the most useful thing that can happen anyway. The most useful thing is for anyone to just make a connection with that. That's the most useful thing. It's forget about all of the concepts, forget about all of these ideas. Just make connection with that.
Of course, but that usefulness
deep level
is only, when they're seeking, anything is useful.
Yeah.
When there's a sense of separation, everything is useful.
Exactly.
To me.
Well, that's just an idea about everything being useful.
Oh, but yes, of course. What else? But it's all an idea. We can say to each other, it's all an idea, and even that is just an idea. What is an idea? Tell me.
I mean, these ideas are beautiful, but at the end of the day, what I essentially am interested in is what is practical. What is practical for life? What is practical? What is it that you can do? And forget about all this stuff about there's no
but as there is something else than life. You talk as if what is practical for life and something which is not life. It's all life.
Yeah, well, yes, of course it is. Yeah, I didn't say it wasn't, but what is practical?
No, but in your talking, you say what is practical for life, as if there's something else.
Yeah.
Well,
what is practical is only what is in a moment. Like what is practical today might not be practical tomorrow. It's just nonsense.
It's funny because we seem to forget that this is just, talking, you know, it's nothing substantial. It's just
Okay,
Blah, blah,
well, from here, from my point of view, the
blah.
most useful thing I can do is when I teach someone to meditate. That is the most useful, practical
Beautiful.
thing I can do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything else is just an idea which comes and goes. So that's what I mean by the practical.
I think meditation can be practical in the same way a fork can be practical, but it's not required. Just like I have fingers to eat and I can use a spoon or a fork or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think meditation is the be all or end all. I was taught to meditate at a very young age, and I cannot say that meditation, like, it's great, it calms the nervous system down, it's good for this, that, and the other, it's good for your health, whatever, but it's I don't think it's the most useful.
I don't think that's a good analogy with the knife and the fork.
Well, you know, believe it
doesn't
or
matter.
not, you know, there are many so-called people walking around that don't meditate. They
Yes,
don't go to non-duality meetings. They
yes,
don't
Yeah.
are in spirituality, and everything is completely fine.
yes.
Well, I don't know if it is. Give me their names and telephone numbers, and
No,
I'll find
but
out.
wait a minute. Why are you separating meditation from what's happening here right now?
Yes.
There's
Why not?
nothing- Yeah, exactly.
Why
Of
not?
course you are. If you are
Yeah, but
saying
yeah,
that
I am. But why not?
The meditator
with
will
that?
know that this already is the meditation. There's
this
no.
is already.
Giovanni, I'm going to press you. Yes, I am separating it. And what's wrong with that?
There's nothing
No.
wrong, Tony.
Nothing wrong.
I mean,
Yeah, but you're saying it as if there is something wrong with it. I am. Yes, I admit. I freely admit that I am separating meditation from this. Yeah, sure.
you know,
Why not?
all I can say here, so to say,
Yeah.
there was intensive meditation. Waking
Yeah, I know your
every day,
practices. You did all
3 o'clock,
these kriyas, yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning, waking up, 2 hours yoga before going to work, 3 hours. And at a certain point, I was just standing up, and it was the same as going to a toilet. There was no need anymore.
Yes, but yeah, exactly. This is the meditation. The
I
meditator
understand what you're
realizes
saying.
that this is the meditation already.
You're talking about you're talking about your personal experience, Andrea, and that's absolutely fine. But you know, I've transformed people's lives, so that's what I know. Okay,
I think what
my
I had to
experience.
remember, Tony, is that it wasn't me doing the therapy, it wasn't me doing the sort of transformation, because I think you can get quite attached to the identity of it's me helping people, it's me the therapist.
Yeah,
You're going all non-dual now.
No,
But
that's
I
not
have to
non-dual,
agree
not
with
at all.
Claire in that, you know, because I can,
That's
you
right.
know, I can
You're
turn
directing it, Claire. You're initiating it, right? You're directing it.
I don't think it's me. It's like I paint as well. And when I paint, it's like there's something coming through me. It's the same when I'm in the therapy room. There's someone speaking the words. It's the unknown. Sit with the
Yes, but all you're saying is that there is a certain element of it which is intuitive, right?
It's totally intuitive. It's not just.
Oh yeah, well yeah, sure, I
Well,
understand
Tony, sorry. When you say are you referring to the impersonal? If you say I have helped people, are you referring to the impersonal or to the personal? Because you see
the personal.
and the I as personal in impersonal.
No. If I'm teaching someone, I'm working with the personal.
No, but you say when I have helped people, are you referring to the impersonal I because you make a distinction between the personal and the impersonal I?
You know what? I would say that ultimately the truth, if you want to use that word or whatever, just to be in the natural state, is actually beyond all notions of duality and non-duality. Completely irrelevant.
Because
really, non-duality and duality, forget it. It's completely irrelevant.
Because
it's useful for the seeker. It's useful for the seeker.
Yes. When here there is something be done, it doesn't matter going to the toilet or whatever, or talking or helping. There's never an additional sense that it's me who is doing it. There's no lived sense that me, as now also, there's no sense that I am the one talking.
Yeah, I understand
that.
These are
my words,
sure.
that there is a me doing this. You know, if you ask me 5 minutes, later I will say I was talking, but during this there's no additional sense of a me doing. It was never that way.
Yeah, but what about reflective thinking?
Yeah, but that is the reflective simple is also absent of the sense that I am the one reflective thinking.
It's just memory.
There is
Memory
no
isn't
sense.
real.
There
It's
is
just
no
like a
sense.
shadow.
There is no
You
sense of
know,
doing the thinking. There's no additional feeling of I am doing the talking now. These are my words. It's me who is talking. There's just the
you know,
directness of what is.
I'm just totally in the flow of life. That's it. That's it. That's all it is.
Well, that's
Just
what I'm saying.
in the flow.
Well, it almost, of course, it gives the idea that you can be in the flow and out the flow and trying to get back in the flow. How would that work
But
out?
what I see, Andrea, what I see in a very short time, just in a day, even almost immediately, what I do see is that when I give people the tools to go back to this silence, the results can be quite astonishing and immediate. Just by having the tools to go back to that simple awareness, it's quite extraordinary,
And in
really.
the same way as if I was a multi-millionaire and gave somebody a huge amount of money, it would have a massive impact. In the same way, if I surprised somebody
Right.
with a beautiful birthday cake, it would have a wonderful
No, but
impact
this
in
is
their life.
where analogies
No,
break
it's
down
no, it's not.
because
It's
that's
nonsense.
not a
It's
good
nonsense. No, 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 no,
analogy
no, no,
because you're
no.
talking about the field of experience.
So are you. That's exactly what you're saying, and I'm trying to say that it's just a state of being, and you can't take claim to, changing someone's life in that way. You just simply can't. I mean, that's arrogance for a start,
But
but
I
you can't
believe,
Oh
say
gosh,
Tony,
no,
you,
arrogance.
you
Oh,
can't.
that's
You can't. You
a
can't.
strong word.
You can't say
Oh,
that.
Andrea,
If there
sweetheart,
is,
you are
there is
topping me now, girl. You're topping me now. You're
but
coming with
Oh my
arrogance. Come
goodness, it's an
on.
arrogant thing to say. Come on.
If I teach someone, I give them some help. I'm not.
It's
And
in
I
Tony,
the
they
mean, there's
love
nothing
you,
moment.
arrogant
sweetheart.
about
In
that.
the moment,
And
they
they love
might
you.
think,
And thank you for this. And they give you money. Beautiful. I call this
Oh
business.
no,
It's
no, no.
beautiful.
No.
Everything is
Oh, wait a
business.
minute. Can I just say something? I
no,
Of
they
never,
give
course.
him
never
praise and
charge money for
reviews.
this. I have never charged money for this.
but
But
This is not a
why
business, right?
not? Why not? What's wrong with charging money for this? I mean, it's help.
Because I don't want to. I mean, it's
Oh,
simple as
okay.
that.
Good.
Listen, Tony,
Good.
Tony. Like you could have a right earth-shattering experience with someone like, oh my God, you've changed my life. 6 months
Yeah.
later, you're not in touch with them. The same old trauma reappears. Everything smashes to pieces. They're back where they were. There's no change. You haven't created the change. It's just a moment thing. And
Who are you
that's
talking
great. That's
about
beautiful.
specifically? I mean,
What?
are you talking about someone specifically that after six months? I mean,
No,
because if you're going to make a generalization,